Hey folks, and welcome to War Thunder with Flying Dodo. Today I'm taking out the F86-F2. This is my first jet video. The reason you haven't seen any jet videos from me before is really quite simple. I am historically awful at jets. I just could never seem to get the hang of them. Quite frankly, learning jets can be very costly. Stock jets perform relatively poorly compared to the upgraded ones, making learning to fly them difficult. Upgrades require a huge amount of research points. Getting research points requires at least some activity and performance in the matches. Repairing jets is usually quite expensive. Crew upgrades cost quite a bit. All of this is sort of a vicious cycle. Don't perform well, get no upgrades. Get no upgrades, it's hard to learn to perform well. Lose your silver lions in a hurry. Anyway, I think I'm getting better. I watched other YouTuber videos on how to fly jets. I tried to follow their examples and just didn't get it. It didn't work for me. So recently I approached it differently and really started noticing what was working and what wasn't, especially in terms of flying out a stock jet. So here I am flying out my stock F86-F2 with a couple squad mates, and I'm going to try to point out some things that may help other quote-unquote new jet pilots if other YouTubers' tutorials are failing them. So to the match then. I extended out after takeoff to zoom climb and turned back in to see what was around. Both my squad mates are already headed in and gotten low, and I didn't want to get too low this close to all the action. As you can see, someone on our team thought it would be cool to bring in some lower tiered aircrafts into this 9.0 game, and I sort of assumed that the enemy jets around me were probably more upgraded and or piloted by more skilled jet pilots. One of my squad mates, Cool Boy, was engaging a Sabre away from most of the action, so I decided I'd head over there and lend a hand. I've got enough altitude and energy to probably catch a low-flying spaded Sabre with nowhere to dive. So I head in, nosing down slightly to begin my speed increase. I'm catching the enemy Sabre at a decent rate, and Cool Boy had enough altitude and energy to begin a dive on him as well. The enemy Sabre turns in slightly to the left, bringing us even closer to him. He then climbs sharply and begins a loop. I move to follow, but my crew is not expert in this plane, just the normal 5 rating for pilot G-force. I black out and lose control. Cool Boy, a little further back, hits his air brakes, follows the enemy Sabre, and fires his M3 50 cals and takes off the Sabre's wing. Cool Boy heads immediately back in, but I'm still regaining control and figuring out where the hell I am. Then I move to follow him towards the furball we see in front of us. I probably should have used my air brake as well when following that last Sabre. I was just going too fast to pull those maneuvers behind him, and it cost me a blackout and some minor confusion as to what my status was. You'll see me in a slight incline on my way over. Altitude is important, as always, having enough to get you to full speed quickly to get away from something. But if the enemy is low, you don't need much more altitude than they have, so don't waste time climbing if you don't have to. Cool Boy begins to engage another enemy Sabre at around his altitude, heading straight in. I move to engage the same plane, nosing down to pick up speed. The enemy Sabre continues past Cool Boy and aims for me. I send a quick burst of 20s his way and move slightly out of the way to avoid his shots, and he passes below me to my right. I extend and climb slightly, guessing that his energy is lower than mine, and want to give myself the distance to turn back around and re-engage. He and Cool Boy are going after each other, so I turn in to attempt to pass on him. This is usually where I make mistakes in jets. I slow down and begin dogfights. I dive on him, and I'm going a little too fast as he climbs to follow him, but he turns back down and puts himself in front of my guns. I let loose with probably too many shells, but I do get an inconsequential hit on him. I begin to climb back up a bit, but see him coming up. I flip and damn near get myself killed flying directly in front of his plane. He's too slow on the draw, and I miraculously avoid death. He's low energy now, so I extend out of that split S and begin chasing down an F9F that appears to be chasing Cool Boy. I'm moving pretty fast here, and I'm feeling okay about the Sabre I left behind me because I'm leaving him behind. The F9F, however, takes down Cool Boy, and I squeeze off some shots, but I'm way off lead for how fast we're moving. I'm closing quickly though, and he pulls into a climb and makes himself an easy target. I blow off his wing, roll immediately to the right, and continue to put distance between me and the F86 I'd been fighting earlier. A hunter is moving in on him, and he breaks off from the pursuit, which I immediately take as an opportunity to try and turn the tables on him. He's in a climbing turn, I put my guns on him, and a burst causes critical tail damage. I flip immediately back down to face the incoming low-altitude enemy out on the water. I nose down to pick up speed to extend out past the F9F if I have to. I'm lower altitude than I like, as I have nowhere to go to pick up more energy. The tail crit takes its toll on the F86 I'd been fighting. He lawn darts, making him my second kill. As the F9F and I close on each other, I make a half-assed head-on attempt and scoot out the other side, continuing straight and slightly up. I know that if he tries to turn around, I can put plenty of distance between us while gaining altitude. He begins to turn back towards me to follow, but then I guess he notices the hunters above him and turns towards them. Really quickly, I'd like to point out that trigger control is very important with the M3 20mm cannons. They fire so fast you run out of ammo quickly. It's something I'm still working on, as you can see by my previous overspamming of shells. I extend out even further, and I'm low ammo at this point. I'm trying to make the decision to either go land or engage the F9F. I finally decide to go use the last of my ammo and return to base when my guns are empty. One of the hunters appears to be making a run on the F9F, so I nose down to make a high-speed pass on him if I can. The F9F appears to be dodging the hunter's attacks, but it's keeping him in the same general area and at low energy, and I am closing the distance very quickly. I'd like to take more time to get some altitude at this point, but I want to see if I can get to this conflict while the F9F was preoccupied with the hunter. Kills are obviously easier when they aren't paying attention to you. The hunter breaks off, and the F9F starts heading directly towards me. He squeezes off a couple in my direction, but I bank right and begin an extended loop to get above him while he's low energy. From there, I'll attempt a boom and zoom run on him. Now the other hunter is following me in to make my pass, and the F9F is just moving way too slow to do anything but to try and dodge our attacks. While I'm not moving as fast as the hunter, I think I'm in a little better position. The F9F is banking right, giving me a decent deflection shot, but to be fair, the poor guy had nowhere to go. The F9F2 versus a hunter and a Sabre, we'd basically have to collide with each other for him to make it out of this alive. It seems my last shell probably was the kill shot in that, and I really need to work on trigger control with guns like these. What I've learned so far in jets is that indeed, speed is king, more so than prop planes even, because everything moves so fast that the window of time to save yourself from a mistake is greatly reduced. Learning to put plenty of space between you and your enemy until you are in a position to define and control the encounter seems to be the key, and the time it takes to make decisions is very compressed, and they must be made very quickly. This wasn't the end of the match, but it was close. There were 2 bombers left. One crashed and the other was taken out by one of the hunters. As I learn more about jets, I'll be posting more material to try to help others struggling with them. Until then, have a great day.